Ambassador Zethkari's crystalline appendages trembled as the human fleet materialized from hyperspace. The Galactic Council had spent 3 standard cycles preparing for this moment, the first official contact with the species that called themselves humans. Everything had been meticulously planned. The diplomatic station, Harmony's Edge, floated serenely in neutral space, adorned with the universal symbols of peace and understanding. But the humans hadn't brought diplomatic vessels. 12 massive warships hung in the void like predatory beasts, their hulls bristling with weapon arrays that made even the seasoned Korthak warriors shift uncomfortably. The lead vessel, a kilometer-long dreadnought, bore scars from countless battles, its armor plating patched and repatched in a dozen different alloys. UES Indomitable requesting permission to dock, crackled the transmission. The voice was calm, almost casual, as if parking a weapons platform next to a peace station was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Zethkari's 3 hearts hammered in discordant rhythm. The council chamber erupted in panicked chittering and alarmed pheromone releases. The Velthari delegates' bioluminescent patches flashed danger signals, while the mechanical synth representatives' optical sensors whirred frantically. "This is not what was agreed upon," squeaked High Counselor Prin, his fur standing on end. The transmissions clearly stated peaceful intentions, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation. Captain Elena Vasquez materialized on the station's main docking bay 90 minutes later, flanked by 2 Marines whose armor looked designed for storming fortress worlds, rather than diplomatic functions. She was smaller than most species had expected. Humans rarely exceeded 2 meters in height. But something in her steady gaze made hardened warriors step aside. "Captain Vasquez," Zethkari managed, extending a greeting tendril. We welcome you to Harmony's Edge, though we must confess surprise at your escort." Elena's face remained neutral as she shook the offered appendage with a grip that was firm but not threatening. "Ambassador, thank you for arranging this meeting. The warships were not part of our agreement," Zethkari pressed. "No," Elena agreed. "They weren't." The silence stretched like a taut cable ready to snap. Finally, the Korthak war chief Braktor leaned forward, his tusks gleaming. "Human, your species promised peaceful contact, yet you arrive with enough firepower to glass a moon. Explain this deception." Elena's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her dark eyes. "War Chief, before we begin formal negotiations, I'd like to share something with the Council. A history lesson, if you will." She activated a portable holo display, and the chamber filled with images of Earth, continents, oceans, cities gleaming under yellow sunlight. "This is our homeworld. Beautiful, isn't it? 3 billion people called it home when we first detected your signals 47 years ago." The image shifted, showing massive dishes pointed skyward. "We were so excited. First contact with an advanced galactic civilization. Our scientists, our diplomats, our children, everyone dreamed of the day we'd join the galactic community." The hologram changed. Earth still turned in the void, but now it was scarred and broken. Continents bore massive craters. The oceans had turned black. The lights of civilization were gone. "The hegemony arrived 18 months before our scheduled meeting with you," Elena continued, her voice steady as stone. "They'd intercepted our transmissions, decided that humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable to be allowed into space. They came with 40 ships to cleanse us." Braktor's combat-scarred hide went pale. Even the synthetic delegates' optical array dimmed. 3 billion people, Elena repeated. They called it a preemptive pacification. Very clean terminology, very civilized. The images shifted again, showing massive space stations hidden in asteroid fields, underground shipyards carved into moons, and the grim faces of human survivors. "We spent 30 years learning everything we could about galactic civilization, about the hegemony, about the council that knew what they were doing and chose to look the other way because humans weren't officially part of your little club yet." Zethkari's crystalline form had gone completely translucent, a sign of extreme distress. We didn't know. You didn't ask." Elena's voice remained conversational, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. The hegemony told you we'd been incorporated. Very clean, very bureaucratic. File it away and forget about it. The hologram showed new images now. Sleek human warships, their crews working with mechanical precision. Asteroid fortresses bristling with weapons. Fleets drilling in formation around red dwarf stars. It took us another 15 years to build the fleet you see outside. 15 years to develop weapons that could crack hegemony shields. 15 years to learn how to fight like the galaxy had taught us to fight. Braktor found his voice first. The hegemony. What happened to them? Elena smiled for the first time since arriving. It wasn't a pleasant expression. We gave them exactly what they gave us. Every world, every station, every ship. 300 billion of them learned what human aggression really looked like when properly motivated. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Now, Elena continued, deactivating the hologram, you're probably wondering why we accepted your invitation to meet. Why we didn't just start shooting when we arrived. She looked around the chamber, meeting each delegate's gaze. Because war is expensive, and because some of you might actually be worth saving. She gestured toward the viewport where the human fleet waited in perfect formation. Every ship out there is crewed by survivors. People who lost everything because the galaxy's idea of civilization didn't include protecting those too weak to protect themselves. Elena stepped forward, and instinctively several delegates stepped back. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to expand this council. You're going to create enforcement mechanisms with teeth. You're going to establish real laws with real consequences for genocide. Her voice grew harder. And you're going to make sure that what happened to Earth never happens to anyone else. And if we refuse? High Counselor Prin's voice was barely a whisper. Elena's smile returned. Then we'll assume you're just another hegemony with better marketing, and we'll treat you accordingly. She turned toward the exit, her Marines falling into step beside her. Captain, Zethkari called out. How do we? No, you won't turn on us once we've helped you reform the council. Elena paused at the threshold. Because, Ambassador, humans keep our promises. We promised you peaceful contact. She gestured toward the stars beyond the viewport. We could have opened fire the moment we dropped out of hyperspace. Instead, we're sitting here talking. She met the ambassador's gaze one final time. That's the difference between us and the hegemony. They brought death because they were afraid. We brought warships because we refused to be afraid ever again. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. In the silence that followed, the council delegates looked at one another with new understanding. Peace, they realized, wasn't the absence of weapons. It was having them and choosing not to use them. For now.